Okay, welcome to this impromptu live stream. We're going to be talking about Logic Pro 12. It's been just over a month now since it was released. And so this is kind of like a state of the union in terms of Logic Pro. I'm hoping to have some people on who can share some opinions and points of view about this, what they're facing. Obviously, we've seen a number of the things and issues that have happened with Logic Pro since 12, since it came out, and a lot of really passionate conversations happening about it. And so we're going to now funnel that into this. So if you're watching this later, just be aware that this is going to be a little bit of an opinion piece, and we will talk about some very specific things, I believe. We're going to talk about some of the surrounding ecosystem to Logic, like the Nectar CS12 and some of the other things that at the initial point of release were not working with Logic Pro 12, but things get better and things start working and get updated. And so we'll be talking about a number of things as we go. And we'll just kind of play it by ear and see where the crowd wants to go. Plastodon, welcome to the stream. I didn't know I was going to be doing this about 20 minutes ago and then decided that I would. Sometimes with streams like this, it's easier to stream and talk to everybody instead of making a video that I upload at some point. I have a couple of those in the works that I'm working on. But this channel, by the way, this is maybe the other part of this live stream that I wanted to talk about. My channel is going to be changing ever so slightly moving forward. This came out with some of my recent videos about Suno. And, Suno is an AI music generator that is, I think, relatively controversial in its own way. It's interesting technology, but I don't know. I'm just tired of giving it, space on my channel and in my brain because even though it's cool, it's not that cool. And I think that it's time for some of us who lead the conversation about things like Logic Pro to actually, say what we think and create a community around our tools instead of always just making videos that the algorithm is going to show to everybody for their own reasons. And so I'm tired in some ways of the videos I make about Suno and AI music just getting tons and tons of airtime from YouTube algorithm, and some of the videos I make about actually really informational things with Logic and really useful information at that, not being shown to hardly anybody. And so I'm going to say, who cares? And we're just going to continue to make videos that are more useful about Logic instead of just going into the hype machine and so forth. So the next few months, we're going to sort out exactly how that looks, but we're back to making things about the MIDI effects and basic tools inside Logic and how to do things in Logic better and writing music more often in Logic. Okay, so let's talk about Logic Pro 12 in the month since it came out. Number one thing that people are talking about, of course, would be a lot of the legacy presets. They're legacy now. They weren't legacy in Logic Pro 11, but now they're legacy. The presets of things. And there have been a number of sources for information on how to get those back. If you still have your copy of Logic Pro 11, which of course is really good, it's a really good practice to save your previous version. You don't have to zip it. You could just move it to a new folder. I mean, there are so many ways to do it. But if you have that, then you can dig in and get those presets. I don't actually, there were no presets that I lost that I really needed. And in fact, I find it interesting. Now, what I'm about to say is not meant to be offensive to anybody, but of course, now that I said that, it probably will. and maybe is offensive, but like let go of some of those old presets, you know? Um, Many of the ones that they moved out of 12 had like old design, old sounds, old tech, and there are better ways to do this. I personally find the one instrument, and please don't be upset that I'm saying this, but I've heard more about the Bosendorfer channel strip than any other instrument, and the new studio piano in Logic is better. It's better, in my opinion. So take that for what it's worth. But if you really want those, look online. There are people who teach you how to reinstall them. I'm not going to, because one thing about my channel is that I don't ever save the previous versions of Logic. I don't. I have more than one computer, and I don't upgrade them simultaneously. Meaning, once I open up all of my projects, if any of them are live and I'm working on them, which I had a few this time, if any of them were open, I saved Logic 11 on my my MacBook, and I could open them up on there if I needed to, and I could transfer that Logic over to my other computer. No problem. I have a backup, I guess, in that sense. But once I made sure all of my active projects sounded good and were in a state that I was happy with, then I updated the laptop as well. I didn't save a copy of Logic 11. I don't do that. I just move on. I don't feel the need to. A number of people have said, "Well, what about archival things?" And I'm like, "Well, things have changed. I don't need an archive version of things. I've had a million projects over the course of my career, and once they are released or put out there, if I don't have a contract that requires me to keep them, I don't. And so I like to move on. I like to move forward. So I can't show you how to pull those presets back in. I can talk to you what I've seen other people do, but it is an issue for some. Some people really wanted all those presets, and that was a really interesting decision by Apple. Maybe they are working on a way and an update to get those back. Maybe it wasn't 100% on purpose. I don't know. But it seems really silly considering you can still go in and get all your legacy effects and instruments and have access to all of those things. I don't, cool. I don't know. I don't know why they did it. They do some of the things they do. I don't think anybody knows why they do, but there are, I mean, we have a lot of legacy stuff in here, so I think it's interesting. It's interesting that how that choice was made. Number two, the Nectar CS12. For anyone who uses it, this is that control surface, the Panorama CS12, which is really designed to work with Logic. It now works with other workstations as well, but it started with Logic and it's really integrated. And I was super bummed. This is one of those things that I know the risk when I update Logic to a new version, that there's a chance it won't work for a month. And it always bums me out because this was one of those times it didn't work for, I think, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't know. It kind of worked, but it really didn't. And then the Nectar team released an update for Logic 12, and now it's back to working in its beautiful form. If you don't have a CS12 and you're looking for a control surface, that should be one of the ones you certainly consider. There's one that Music Help Tech guy just did a video on. Man, I'm reaching out to that company. I want to see if they'll send me something, but it looks awesome. So go check out his video about the control surface. The one thing that I thought was really cool with that one has the knobs that have the force feedback, which means they're continuously rotating, but they can actually imitate, or they put a mechanism in place to make it feel like you're supposed to stop it, like a detent. And that looks awesome. But I would still recommend the CS12 over that any day. Man, what did I just do? Okay, I thought I just canceled my stream for a second. Plastidon, let me catch up with your comments. Yeah, some people have backed up all of the demo projects and saved them. I think I have a couple of those over the years. I wish I had done more of them because it'd be cool to show those in class to my students every once in a while. But Plastidon, if you have all of the old demo projects and want to put them on a Google Drive for me and send me a link, that would be awesome. User MZ3 says, ever since I updated, I can't see Rosetta and Get Info. Anyone have the same problem? Well, you know what? I can actually look at that. Depends on, are you using the standalone logic, or are you part of the subscription logic? That would be a question I would ask about that while I look this up. The truth is, I haven't put it in Rosetta mode in a very long time now, thank goodness. I was so glad to put that behind me. But I will look this up real quick. So here on mine, it says I can open using Rosetta still. I don't know if that had any secret information. I don't think that had no, I doubt it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I haven't seen that at all. So the subscription, it's true, I believe, does not have Rosetta capabilities. Just the standalone does. That's my understanding. And so I think that if you are using the subscription mode, then I don't think you'll have that option anymore. That was what the release paperwork said, at least. So you'll just have to keep that in mind. Yeah, vocal line. And, so there's the team at Apple who were doing interviews, not the full team, I think it was one of the guys who's like on the marketing team for Logic. They did say that they're working on the ARA for Logic, which would be nice for it to happen, but we just don't know when. And given the last cycle of updates, so we got Logic Pro 12, and it had been over 6 months since we even had gotten an incremental teeny update from Apple. And so I'm not holding my breath anytime soon that ARA is going to be like magically here before I retire, or buried in the ground. You know what I mean? It's like, who knows how long that's going to take. But you're not guaranteed with the subscription one that's part of the Creator Studio to have access to non-universal mode. I'm wondering if anybody else is watching who is using the subscription model and not the standalone Logic. You'll know because of the icon. The icon that we have, it's down here in my bar. That is the standalone version of Logic Pro, and then the new, the one with the blue squiggly line that looks like the live loops. That is the subscription one. If you'll check, that'd be awesome. Maybe we can figure it out. Okay, so in addition to the presets and then the Nectar, that's the only issues I've noticed. There have been some bumps with the chord track that I've noticed. I made a video about this and how you have to sometimes prep up your MIDI before you drag it up into the chord track for analysis. Otherwise, they move things off to the side a little bit. There were some snarky comments about that, like, duh, but it's actually not a duh moment. Partially because sometimes when you drag up MIDI that you've recorded into the chord track for analysis, those chords get put in a very non-obvious place. And so you have to just check your work right now. I'm assuming with every version of Logic that comes out from here on out, for a period of time, we're going to be getting refinements to the chord track. It's a brand new feature. They're doing it in an interesting way, and I don't fully like how that is being done. MIDI should or could be analyzed as MIDI rather than having to be converted into audio and using their machine learning tool to do the analysis. It might probably get way more accurate results with a MIDI analysis. But it's much better than it used to be, and I actually really like that I can play something on MIDI, drag it up, and have a bass player, the session player, bass player, play along with me. It's by far good enough for that use, no matter what. Even if I'm playing complex chords, like the bass is just playing the fundamentals, So I think it's really, really good for that, if nothing else. Placidon says, I keep seeing Final Cut Pro videos that say the subscription service will get features that the one-time purchase won't. They did mention a few of the apps that would. In the documentation, at least in the press release and the other notes, Logic was not included in that. And so Logic, as far as we know, is going to maintain a full feature set between the two, as far as we know. Now, as we know, that can change at any time. I did see a video with someone saying that there was a new sound pack released already for this, but I couldn't find it. It's not true. I think it was just fake news along the way. But here we are. Here we are a month into the new sound library, and we get absolutely no new things. So I'm wondering why we have a sound library that can be updated separately if they're not planning on releasing anything. Wouldn't it have made sense? Wouldn't it have made sense with a big release like the Creator Studio and then adding this feature in to say, you know what, let's shock the world and let's give our Logic users a new sound pack once a month. We're after a month now. Nothing's been out. Reason Studios, which is owned by Lander now, right? They when Reason Studios got bought, everybody was kind of like, "Oh, great, here we go. AI is going to be everywhere." And you know what they did first? They took what was a subscription model for the Reason Rack. So this is the version of Reason I use in Logic. I can load it up. I'll do it right now so you can see what this looks like. I use it now all the time. I love this thing. Right? This rack version of Reason. They took what it was, which was a $20 a month subscription model. Ooh, I have a new update for it. They've updated this regularly recently. They took the $20 subscription model and made it a one-time purchase if you want. You don't have to be a subscriber to use the Reason Rack anymore. One of the only companies out there currently who just made it so that instead of what was at that time kind of working as a subscription model, of course they got bought out, so I don't know how well it was working, but it was a functionally only subscription model for this tool, and they took it off and made it so you could either subscribe or you could buy it outright. On top of that, they broke it off now, so now it's like, I don't know, under $10 or right around $10 if you just want to subscribe to the Reason Rack and not get the full version of Reason. So they're making this more accessible and easier to use for everybody. I'm still paying for the subscription model, partially because I now get all of Lander's release services. So now the album project I worked on towards the end of the year, and which is now fully done, I'm going to use Lander without paying an additional penny other than the subscription I already was paying, and they'll release it, and it'll, even if I cancel Reason, it'll stay posted for life. And so, I mean, there's other companies, they do new sounds and new packs once a week or every week. And so they're saying, you know what, we want the same kind of thing that Logic has with the sound library. That's what it is essentially. but they're like, we're going to give our users new content every single week. There's new things. And so Apple builds us this shiny new sound library, and all of a sudden, we really see the true colors of their team, which involves no change to giving us things. They don't want to give us things on a regular basis, or they can't. I don't know. Why give us this and then say, but we're not going to use it? I don't know. That's a question I have. If I could get all of my questions answered, I would. But here we are, and my guess is maybe once a year or something they're going to give us some new content, and by the time we get it, it won't. It's like, what? Cool. That's not to say, and I've heard a lot of arguments in the past month since 12 came out. It's not to say that Logic is a bad application. It's not. It is actually very powerful, and there's a lot to Logic and a lot to like about Logic. I was talking about this with one of my university classes this week, talking about, so we teach mostly Pro Tools, still the studio standard, and it's something that we'll be using in the studios for a long time. Because a lot of recording studios in our region and around the world use Pro Tools as their primary application. And our job is to train students to have that as an option if they want to work in professional studios. I don't see too many professional studios in this region that use Logic as their primary tool. But I do talk to and know a lot of independent artists, composers, and producers that use Logic just outside of the studio, like a professional one. Placidon says Sam will be a Reaper user before they release. Oh, you're funny. And Placidon, you're absolutely right. I have been seeing a lot of content now about metal and people using Reaper in that realm. And I mean, so this is my honest opinion, thought process. There's a lot to like about Reaper. I shouldn't say this in a public forum. There's a lot to like about Reaper. It's very customizable. It's very affordable. You don't have to have a Mac to use it. Cool, right? All of those things. You can customize it to work. It's easy to switch into Reaper if you have help from somebody who can customize it for your needs. There was something I was seeing about some scripts that you can use where, say you're working with an artist and you have them upload the files onto a server, and then Reaper will be able to notice that they're there and download them and prep them into sessions for you it's like an efficiency thing, right? If you want to spend the time to get good at that, it can be very efficient. I'm not going to switch to Reaper, not because it's not cool and powerful, but because like I have a workflow that works really well in Logic, and Logic does a number of things that I want that Reaper can't do. There are some things that Reaper doesn't do, believe it or not. But people are switching in there, and it just takes a few artists who are leaders in a genre to stand up and be like, yeah, I'm using Reaper. And a bunch of people who want to be like them are going to switch to it and follow along and use it like they do. And that's how it's always been. That's not a new thing. It's a cool thing. I think that we should emulate those that we want to be like, or that we want to have a taste of what they're doing. I think that that's 100% okay and actually pretty cool. I sometimes bag on the Reaper community for thinking that they've got everything. And some of them are amazing who use Reaper, but in my experience, some of the Reaper users I've known are kind of not my favorite people on the planet. And then Placidon says it's overwhelming the amount of scripts that Reaper can do, but some of the things that we use in Logic are like 1,000 times better to use. Agreed. If I were to make a list of 5 things in Logic that I prefer over Reaper, um, Sculpture being one of them. Nobody else gets Sculpture. And I might just put Alchemy with that too, because Alchemy is not available to anybody else right now. The exclusivity of those 2 instruments is a big deal. I like them. Sculpture is really unique, and it needs. I mean, I would love for them to take that concept even further and renew that, but I don't think they're going to. I don't know. They haven't shown any interest in changing it. That's kind of. It feels like an instrument that I know and can use, and it's great. All of the Flex stuff, the Flex integration with everything, is so good. All of the tempo stuff in Logic that is really good for audio and MIDI. And if someone brings me some files that they want me to work on, it's like the adapt tempo all the way through down the whole chain of everything that happens with Flex is a really good workflow that very few people get access to. I would add maybe you can get the Quantec, the QRS reverb, and other places, other models of it, but we get so many cool things built into Logic that other software you have to get third-party things for. So, yay! You can use Reaper and add almost anything you want onto it for a cost. But again, it feels like a lot of, at least speaking from the university perspective, a lot of the people using Reaper are not paying for the plugins that they are using. And I'm just as against AI music as I am against pirating plugins, turns out. So don't do that. Don't be stupid. Hope that's not copyrighted by DeFranco. There's a lot of other things too. We're digressing, of course. In line with Placidon's most recent comment, I would probably get a cassette 4-track recorder before going to Reaper. I'd record on analog before going to Reaper, because it's kind of like the similar vibe. You know, if I'm gonna go with that kind of methodology, then let's go with like old school tape machine. That would be cool. Oh, I almost bought or wanted to buy a Trident console that's available in my area in near Denver, Series 65, and it was on my list this week. I even talked to the guy who's selling it. But I don't want to spend $5,000 on a console that's going to slowly stop working. Studio Pro Placidon is good, and Fender Studio, by the way. I like what they're doing over there. I do. I think that Fender Studio is awesome. I don't actually have a problem with most of these workstations. I think that they're all very similar in the right ways and different in the right ways. And if you can get good at one of them, that's all that really matters. And that's what I try to teach my students at the university. It's more about what you know how to do with a piece of software rather than always having to, like, I don't know, rather than having to say that one is better than the other. I feel like the similarities or rather the differences are smaller than they've ever been. And so you really just got to use the one that feels right for you. By the way, this is maybe a good time to talk about this. I'm going to paste a link in the chat. I'm going to be doing a video probably about this soon, but I'm kind of rolling it out super slowly. Um, this is our new channel Discord server. If any of you use Discord or don't use Discord but want to get into a place where we're going to be talking a lot about logic off stream, and really what I'm interested in mostly these days is instead of a channel that performs better and better and better. That's one approach to YouTube and what people do on YouTube. That's never been my huge priority. I do like it when it grows, but at the same time, I have like a full-time job and I've got like a gaggle of children and personal life stuff. And so YouTube is not like my future career plan, if that makes sense. I do YouTube for a very different set of reasons. One of them is because I like the community around YouTube. Pass it on saying, what's the difference between TeamSpeak and Discord? Tell me the difference. Ugh. I don't know. I'll look it up. It's not too far into the process to change. But Discord is what we've been using at the university with a lot of students. And so I know a ton of people are familiar with it already. But Discord has a lot of features and is the right price and investment of time. So anyway, what I was saying was I'm not trying to build YouTube for a career. I'm trying to build it for a community. And I think it's time to move some of the community outside of YouTube, which YouTube does not have a great set of community features. It's hard to get a hold of people. It's hard to send messages to people on YouTube. It just doesn't work. And I just literally created all of it this week. So this is brand new, brand spanking new. And I'm going to be making a video about it because I do want to reach out to the audience that I have. And live streams don't get shown to everybody, but other videos I upload get shown more, which is nice. So more to come about that, but we're going to move some of our conversations into there and some of our screen sharing type events and things into there. And it's going to be a place where we don't sell you stuff. I'm not interested. I mean, maybe eventually we'll create some preset packs for some of the instruments. I really think that there's a void in people community creating content for Logic. And so maybe down the road we'll do some of that where it's like you get some preset packs for like $3 or something. But we're not looking at like this being a revenue thing. Maybe other people want to create them and share them on there. That would be cool too. I think we should do more of that. I think we should have more people creating things and sharing them or selling them for a small amount. A place where subscriptions are banned and just people get together and talk. How awesome would that be? I'll check it out, blast it on. It's not too late to switch, but I think for the moment, it may be the place we use. That's a bummer. I assume with tech stuff, there's always a backlash. But it's nice to have a platform that isn't trying to make me sell people things. I'll check it out. TeamSpeak. That's one I have not heard of it, so that's part of the reason. I was thinking of like we could do some of this stuff on Substack but that doesn't really have great community features either in some ways. That's more like a one-way street for newsletters and things, but it is nice. But we'll start over there. and see how it goes. Oh, awesome. Um, so those of you who are on, we have a small group on right now. Anybody else having any other issues with Logic 12, or besides the issues that we all have heard about with the presets and such, has it been working pretty well? Let me know. I'm curious because honestly, I've heard people complaining about things, but I haven't heard too many like specific things, if you know what I mean. And that to me, and so there's this thing. If I were a competitor to Logic Pro and wanted to grow, I would have a team out there spreading seeds of discontent, right? Heck yeah. There's no reason to think that you'll see comments on any of these things that are negative about Logic and assume that that person is actually a Logic Pro user. They may be from one of the other companies that's trying to dig into people's worst fears about things. The truth is, Logic is really good and it does a lot. And you don't actually need, it's like when they added live loops. I know I've done surveys on these streams before about who uses live loops, and it's always like 5 to 10% say yes, and 90 to 95% say no way. And guess what? You don't have to. I've never made a single video on this YouTube channel about live loops in Logic, nor will I probably ever. I don't imagine. And the other thing is that I'm not going to do is actually use it. I'm never going to use live loops in Logic. I don't think that way. I don't need to think that way. I don't care to think that way. And so if I wanted to use that type of loop production, I would be switching over to FL Studio or Ableton or even Bitwig. You know, it's like there are other places that have done that better. Logic added it in as a tool, as an option, but it's like they added it in and it's kind of stayed stagnant. They could take it out in the next version of Logic, and I bet you most people would never notice. They'd be like, oh, cool. Matter of fact, for the very first time, I'm going to turn it on. Da-na-na, there it is. It's on my channel. I'm going to turn it back off. There you go. It was on my channel for like 5 seconds. It's fine. I don't feel like we needed it though. I felt like they did it and then they kind of left it, and they've never really done a lot with it since. It's one of those things. Somebody said we could do that, and they said, will it make us more like the others? And someone says, well, yeah. And they said, well, okay, let's do it if it's not that hard. See, we have someone in the comments who's saying they like live loops, and that's okay. I'm not trying to shame anybody or make you feel like you shouldn't like it. It was all about me. I don't feel like, I just don't. Conceptually, I think it's an interesting way to work. And I don't perform live. I don't perform with certain genres of music. My music is pretty linear, has a beginning, middle, and end, and they just kind of go in that order. And so the live loops, they just don't enhance my own personal workflow. But that's the beauty of something like Logic that has so much. Someone could say, well, I need to be able to trigger my loops. And then you could say, well, live loops in Logic does that and does it pretty well. You could have your iPad and you can trigger everything on the screen. I'm wondering, so there's all this talk of the new touchscreen Mac laptop. I wonder if they're going to incorporate, if you're going to be able to just perform with the live loops right from the screen there. That would make sense, I guess. Plastidon, are you saying I need medical help? Probably. That is a fair assessment. Hmm. Or are you talking to the person who says they like live loops? That would be funny too. But be nice. Be nice. It's just nice to have all the options, right? So I did a demonstration in my class at the university this week where I pulled in a song and I did the adapt tempo, right? And then, so it was actually one of my students. They had played a demo using the memo app. And so they sent me the memo, the voice memo of them with guitar and voice. And I did the adapt tempo. So I got the entire tempo mapped. It was accurate. It's always nice when it's accurate. Drug it to the chord track, got all the chords, did a stem split, pulled it out, added a bass part, added a key part, processed the voice, and then it's like moving through that process of a voice memo into like an actual mock-up and then ready to re-record the voice and guitar that they had originally done on their phone. It's like a 15 to 20 minute process. And so if you're working in that kind of place, you couldn't have done it that fast in Pro Tools or Ableton. There are some parts of Ableton that are really fast, but some of that would not have been that fast. I promise. Definitely couldn't have done that kind of workflow that fast in Reaper. We're getting really close to that in things like Fender Studio, but even Fender Studio, it can analyze the chords and do some of that stuff, but it doesn't have like an auto bass player already ready to go, or the synth player or the drums. It's like put on some brushwork right away, and it follows everything perfectly along. So it's like one of those things. For some workflows, Logic is really darn good. And nothing in Logic 12 changed that except for the chord track. The new analysis feature, I think, gave me a step up with everything I do in that specific type of workflow. Now, we're going to probably get back into doing some more like song nights or song streams or something once the last album project releases. And by the way, I wanted to talk about that album project for a minute because I'm not talking about the album project so you all think that I'm trying to like get people to listen to it. That's actually kind of the opposite in some way. Not the opposite, but I'm doing this as a special project with my university where it's an OER, which is an open educational resource, which means once the album actually goes live, I'll be doing a video about it, and then there'll be a link. You can download the stems for every song. I am rendering the vocals. The vocals are the one part that I'm not just giving everybody the raw vocals. But everything else will be either an audio stem or it'll be a project session with all of the MIDI and everything. So those will be open to anybody who wants to like open them up and use them. They'll be under an open rights designation, which means any part of them can be used for learning and for whatever you want. And so I'm not like releasing an album in the traditional sense. It's more of like all of those songs will be open. People can download them and use them and learn from my process, whatever that means to anybody. I think that's what I was really interested in doing with that whole project. And my university supported the idea, but they're just going to be like free for use, which I've got like what I consider a really awesome day job paying my bills, and I'm not necessarily interested in being anything other than a teacher at this moment in my life. And so It'll be a cool way. So look out for that stream as soon as they are going to be on the streaming services, so people have access to listen to what I did. But attached to the YouTube content will be a link to download them, and I'm going to try to find some OER websites to see if they'll let me post them on there for people to download and use as well. I did Plastidine. I did see the guy who made his own DAW. And I think there's a part of me that's like, you know what I want? I'd like to be able to wake up in the morning and give one of those coding services a description of the workstation I want to work with for the day, and have it make me a new workstation every day. Every day I want a new DAW to create music in. Okay, maybe not every day. That seems excessive. And Plastidine, you better play some. I know I talked to you sometime about doing some drums on one of my next songs that I'm working on. But it turns out I've not worked on any new songs since the last streams. I've taken a little bit of break and focused on teaching this semester. That's why we've been doing less video content as well, just because I am in the classroom 3 days a week, and then I have graduate students that I'm mentoring for their thesis portfolios on another day of the week. And so this is like a really busy semester. It's kind of crazy. And jazz, do some jazz. That's if we were to make a short list of what Logic still needs, what would you all put? There's a few of you watching. Tell me in the comments if you could have Logic do one thing that it doesn't currently do. What would it be? Everybody's watching at different times on there, but if that's a question for now or later, if you're watching this later, what could Logic, what would they add and you would be happy about it? And ARA is off the table. We all know everybody wants ARA who uses ARA. Like, don't tell us that you want ARA and that would make you happy. We already know that for some of you. I'm talking about like in terms of a creative tool. What would you add that would make Logic move in the right direction? For me, it is currently a session guitarist. Doesn't need to be able to do melodies and leads and things, but I wouldn't mind having some sort of rhythm guitarist in my projects. Maybe second to that would be more drum styles and bass styles and keyboard styles. Like all the session players, just steroid them up a little bit, make them actually usable in more situations. That would be probably the top of my list right this moment. For mock-ups or for songwriting or for just ideas. Right? Cool. Samuel says, I want better and clearer waveform view. And I've also noticed recently, at least, when I record audio into Logic, the waveform rendering during recording has gotten worse, it feels like, over the years. For a while, it felt like it was getting better, but now it is bad again. To be able to bounce the movie with music. Tried that last night, didn't work. It worked in earlier versions, maybe a bug. I haven't had a lot of success with that anyway. I almost always just go into Final Cut to do the final render of the movie with the sound. I mean, hate that. You're right. That would be kind of useful if you're working with any kind of video to make that process better. Plastidine says, I would want a guitar sim that competes with the modern plugins like Fender Studio Pro guitar plugin. Yeah, so maybe after the session players for me, increasing the sound engine for all of our cool instruments. Logic has so many great instruments and synthesizers and things, and they could add a level of realism to all of those that would be impressive if they chose to. Maybe they are, but Chroma Glow, of course, is the first on that path, and let's hope that they take that down and incorporate that into more places. What else would there be for me if there anything? Huh. There's a couple things, but trying to think. I wouldn't mind a change to the okay, we're talking about Reaper some today. In Reaper, you can drag any file onto any track and it just plays. Any type of speaker output configuration. Logic is so limiting with its ability to do surround. Sure, we have Atmos, but the surround part is really limiting. It's not great. That wouldn't be on my top 5 list, though. That's just because I don't do tons and tons with surround. Some of my research is definitely spatial audio based, but I have to use other programs for that. What else would I... There was something in my mind just a second ago that I thought, ooh, that would be really cool. I'm curious what other people find. Good stereo spread. The one we have in Logic is so bad. I use the one in Reason Rack because it's infinitesimally better. So that's one thing. I don't know if you can hear that. There's some vacuuming happening above me. It's pretty soft, I think. I'm getting new floors installed in the upper floors of my house. Yeah. It's like Logic does. Oh, I know what it was I was thinking. Here we go. This is the other thing that I think would be really useful. And the sound library, in theory, could be the perfect answer for it, but I don't know if it will be. I wish the Logic team and Apple would pay for people to make a bunch of new presets for the instruments that we currently have. Like Sculpture. Perfect example. I love Sculpture. Same presets we've had since the beginning, right? Give me 5,000 presets for Sculpture. Somebody go in there, make a bunch. Put them in the library. We could get more presets. And then a library where we could search for them, of course. Alchemy. Alchemy, because of the sampling nature of that instrument and the synthesis nature, they could easily give us 20,000 new presets and sounds. And we would use them. Right? Why not? How easy would it be to improve Logic? Okay, so say I was in charge of the Logic team for 2026 and 2027. May take a little time to ramp up, but they have enough money they could throw behind some people. They could get into some people's pockets and say, you know what? Make us a sound bank. Here's the studio time. They have all their fancy Apple studios. You know, they have the places to do this. They go in there and say, I want you, and you make new drum things. Start. And you make Sculpture presets. And it's like they just assign a bunch of these things out, get them all ramped up. They go on this thing where every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, they drop this stuff into the library every week. And so then every week at the same time, we're all like, ooh, I wonder what we're going to get this time. And we get like a bunch of presets to an instrument that maybe we haven't used as much lately, but all of a sudden there's new life because They're putting a lot of creative effort into doing that. Once a month, and this is me in charge of the Logic team, not actually happening, but once a month they release an update to Logic, and all it is like bug fixes, and it's actually the ones people talk about. Right? We don't get any new features every month, but once a month they give us like an update, and it's at the same time every month, and we just get like fixes to little things. No matter how many they fix over that period, they just give us all everything they've gotten. Okay, cool. So once a month we're getting bug fixes. Once a week we're getting new presets, samples, content. Twice a year they give us new features, like the bigger stuff, right? And so then we have this ecosystem of us getting stuff on a regular schedule. People stop complaining. We start like looking forward to these things, and it's like they communicate about what things are coming, and the progress of the new guitar session player, if they're ever going to make one, and the ARA functionality, when it's going to be released. It's like communication would just be so cool. And then everybody would know kind of what's happening. I mean, how awesome would it be to have like a regular thing coming from them instead of this weird, like every year is a little bit different and nobody knows what's happening and the features that they're releasing. Like a new synthesizer session player that not one person ever asked for. It's cool though. I'm not going to lie. I don't mind having more tools in the toolkit, but nobody ever asked for that. Not once in all the years have I been making YouTube videos did someone say, boy, I really wish the next session player that they would give us would play synthesizers. Nobody said that. Thanks, Plastidon. That's awesome of you. Email me with that link. So for like a year and a half or whatever it was since the Logic Pro for iPad came out, that everybody was paying subscription for the iPad version, they never gave us one thing off cycle. The whole point of a subscription, according to Apple, is to make it so that you can give additional content on a regular basis to provide value to the end user. And they never did that. So, I mean, geez. Figure out your business model here. Don't make it so that it can be easy for you, Apple. Make it so that it can be worthwhile for the people using your damn products. Let me tell you how I really feel about this. The subscription model is an easy way, they think, for sustainability. And in fact, it's not. They're not treating it that way. They're not giving content on a regular basis. They are literally taking money on a monthly basis for zero value added. Maybe because they think they can get more people to sign up for it if it's a small amount of money spread out instead of a large amount of money as a one-time thing. And that is like the most chicken shit kind of way to treat people. Unless they give us more content along the way and make it actually a valuable commodity that we can't live without. But I'll tell you what, we can live without it if we had to, right this moment. Yeah, Samuel says it's so true. Apple and open communication has never been a thing and likely never will. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. That's why I'm complaining about it. They could add a video generator for your music built. Oh, like a visualizer. I see what you're saying. Yeah, totally. I love the visualizer in FL Studio. It's kind of fun. That's kind of outdated too. Anyway, we have hit a point in this stream where we are 30 seconds away from 1 hour, and I promised myself I would just go 1 hour, mostly so that I don't forget to pick up my kid from school. Not that I ever have. I've never forgotten to pick her up from school, but today will not be the first day. Thanks everybody for participating. I'm glad Placidon, you could be here and comment. Samuel, thanks as well. And there's a couple others who were commenting. And Samuel, you're right. There is, for visual effects, we do have Apple Motion, and it actually does really well for something like music videos. But it's not tied in directly. Although there is a module in there that accepts MIDI data to control visual movements, which is kind of cool. You should mess with that sometime. Anyway, perfect time to end. Thanks everybody. Go back up and check out the Discord link, which is what we're going to use for the time being. And I'll make a video about that and talk about how that community I think is going to be really valuable. And certainly no skin off your back if you don't want to. But thanks. I will talk to you later. Bye.